Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining another session of inventory management. Today we are going to give you a new topic, which is some KPIs related to inventory. We are going to go slowly. Today we are going to see one of them, which is very important. It's called inventory turnover, and we are going to be making a series of exercises regarding this particular uh, inventory. Okay. All right. So inventory turnover pretty much allows you to know how many times inventory is sold and replaced in a specific time period. In Spanish, this KPI is rotación de inventario, right? This KPI reflects how many times the money that you have invested is recovered to sales. It's pretty much a KPI that is related to inventory liquidity, right? How fast you can get your money back, because remember that inventory is money that you have paralyzed until you finally end up turning it into sales, right? So this measures how good you are at doing that. You can estimate the inventory turnover ratio with two formulas. The first one is the cumulative sales divided by the average inventory of a certain period of time, or the cost of the goods sold during a specific period divided by the average inventory. The average inventory can be estimated as the inventory at the beginning of the period plus the inventory at the end of the period divided by 2, unless there are significant seasonal factors, right? So we are going to make a couple of exercises for you to be able to better understand how to do this. So this is pretty much a number of times, right? So this would give you 2, 3, 0.1, 10, right? And it's how many times you are able to sell those items, okay? And recover your money back. That's the interpretation. It is important to have high levels of this ratio, and doing so requires a close relationship with your suppliers and a good estimation of demand and market behavior. A good relation with suppliers is needed because in this case you can have uh, suppliers reduce the lead time, and therefore you have a need for less average inventory, and a good knowledge of the market is necessary, because if you know what your market is wanting and you are able to estimate the demand precisely, uh, I mean, you reduce your inventory, and at the same time, you are able to have good levels of sales, because you are able to understand what the market is requiring, right? When you buy the items that the customers are ending up buying. Okay, so let us check some exercises. But before that, just for you to have some parameters on which would be the ideal values of these ratios. As you can see here, a production company should be having this ratio around 4 or 5, large distributors around 8 or more, and supermarkets or perishable goods, companies that dedicate themselves to sell these types of items, should have inventory turnovers of 25 or more. It is important to mention that this ratio can be estimated each year. It can be estimated monthly as well, and it can be estimated as a total or per product. So you can compare different items in terms of their turnover rate, and you can make appropriate decisions. We are going to work on that a little bit later on, just for you to understand better. Okay, so let's start solving some exercises. It says you have information on the different sales of the month and the average inventory. So estimate the turnover ratio for this situation, and what can you say about it? Okay, so what we are going to do here is that we are going to be estimating the ratio monthly. Okay, it's one of the ways you can do it. And let's go back to the formula. we are going to be using this one because otherwise we would need to have the cost um, of goods sold, okay, or el costo de los bienes vendidos, which we don't have at the moment, so we can go ahead and use this other instead, okay. We can use this one. And if you realize what we need to do is to calculate the cumulative sales because the average inventory is already given to us. So let's do that. I'm going to duplicate this. Okay. So cumulative sales, we have 45,000, we have 58,000, 68,150, and 38,850. Okay. So that then we have accumulated sales. And here we are going to add another column. Oops, no, right here, which is going to be the one that we are going to use for our inventory turnover calculation. Here, inventory turnover. And so this is going to be a matter of just dividing the cumulative sales, which is 45,000 in this case, by 8,000. It's easy, right? Let me do it quickly here. This is 5.62. It's really you want to approximate. I'm leave it with one decimal. It's enough to make to interpret, enough to leave it with one decimal place. It's so 58,000 divided by 8,200 is 0.7, 0.7. The next one, 7.32, and the last one, 7.7. Yes. So these are the ratios you have, and you can see that pretty much. mm I think I made a mistake on the second one. Since it's small, let me repeat the calculation. Yeah, this is 7.1. Okay. So what can you say about this? First of all, you can say that you were able to turn the money you had invested into sales at different times, decent number of times in the month. So in January, you were able to convert your inventory to sales around 5.6 times, which is good, right? You were able to renew your inventory to same way around 5.6 times. And the inventory is going out of your warehouse at a decent rate. And it increased in February, March, and April. You can see that the rate at which you were making those sales compared to the amount you had in inventory was pretty much good. Okay. Remember that we said that for a production company, a ratio of 4 or 5 is considered good. Okay, so here you have a good inventory turnover rate. And so you had a good ability to turn that capital you had invested into sales. Okay, let's move forward to another exercise. Let's analyze this one. Okay, and then we are going to go back to crunch some more numbers. Because at the moment you work as the responsible of a retail company that specializes in cleaning products. The company has one of the biggest warehouses you have ever seen, with a huge amount of different SKUs. Four items have been brought to your attention with the following turnover ratios, and there you have them. You have Dashamonia with a turnover ratio of 31, anti-rust Moorish with 22, surface polisher light 0.5, and moss remover ingress with 1.5. So what are your conclusions regarding these values? Imagine that you were presented with this information and you were to make decisions about these items. What would you say about them? Well, first of all, it seems that both gas ammonia and anti-rust mold are having a good sales uh, to inventory ratio. It means that those two items are being, I mean, they are moving, I mean, getting out of the warehouse frequently, which means that they are being purchased by customers, of course. But in comparison, surface polisher and moss remover have a pretty low inventory turnover rate, meaning that that inventory does not move out of the warehouse, right? It's there. People are not buying it. Therefore, a decision you could make would be to start minimizing the purchases of those two elements and have minimum inventory of those two, because you can see that those are things that the customers really don't buy. Okay, and you keep a better control of that ammonia and moist, because you can see that customers are pretty much requiring a lot of those tools. You have very good inventory turnover rate. So that's what you would do. Imagine that if someone wanted to purchase, uh, take advantage of quantity discounts on light and or ingress items, and wanted to buy large quantities, taking advantage of a low price per volume, you would be against this decision, because you see that those two elements are not being sold well. Okay, inventory is just waiting there in the warehouse, doesn't get out. It's something that definitely you don't want. This is like, imagine as if this was a supermarket, right? They have many products, and there are some products that are rarely sold. Okay, people just not buy them. They have very low turnover rates. Therefore, what does the supermarket do? They reduce the inventory of these elements, because people are not buying them. They have very small quantities of these items, and they don't spend a lot of inventory or space in those. Okay. For example, it's the gourmet section. You can see that the number of items they have there is big, but very limited. They have just a few units of each of the products in comparison to other things like fruits, for example, or rice or milk, where they have larger stocks, because those are things that customers buy, you know. So that would be your recommendation. Lower progressively the inventory levels of the two products with lower turnover rates, and keep a closer control on the two items that have very high turnover rates. Okay? So that would be your proposal. All right, now this is just analyzing, which is important, but let us do some more exercises. Let's see this one. It says Walmart reported in its 2022 annual report a beginning inventory of 35,159 million and an ending inventory of 34,511 million, and cost of goods sold in the year added up to 306,000. This is an extra number, 36,151 million. So you have the beginning and ending inventory amount, and you have the cost of goods sold. Okay. So what is the inventory turnover rate based on the previous rate? What are the number of days of inventory held on this company? Now, this is a new ratio that I have not explained yet, but it's calculated after you get the inventory turnover rate. So let's work slowly on this one. So considering the information we have, the formula that would be more suitable for our case would be this one, right? The cost of goods sold divided by the average inventory. So let us use it. Okay. Now, what is the cost of goods sold? We have that information. We know that the cost of goods sold is the 306,151 million. What we don't have right now immediately is the average inventory, but we can calculate it. So in our scenario, and for this uh, purpose, right, to calculate this is a convention. I have been reviewing a few textbooks related to this topic, and in most of them, what they do is that they identify imagine that you want to calculate the inventory turnover for a year, like we are doing here. They estimate the inventory at the beginning of the year and the inventory at the end of the year, and then they average those two amounts, and that is the value they use. So that's what we are going to do. But it's important that you notice that the inventory is not in units, it is in money. So it's the value of the inventory at the beginning of the year, the value of the inventory at the end of the year, added up and divided by two. So here, the average inventory is equal to inventory at the beginning of the year or the beginning of the period. At the end, and all of this divided by two. Okay, so we have it at the beginning. We have 35,000 million, right? Okay. Plus the end of the year, you have 34,511 million. And then this will be divided by two. Let me just calculate that. 34,835 million. I think that I have been reading these numbers incorrectly, right? 34, 35. Yeah, I think that I have been reading these numbers incorrectly because this is 35,159,000. Okay, this is 34,511,000. I'm sorry, I was reading the numbers incorrectly, and this is 34,830,000. Okay, and 35,000. Okay, it's difficult to read numbers in English, but those are the values. Okay, just for you to see. Okay, so now what we are going to do is that we are ready to calculate the inventory turnover. Now, that would be the cost of goods sold is 306, 151, 000, okay, divided by 4, 835, okay. immediately we can see that the turnover rate is going to be bigger than 1, which is a good sign. Let me just zoom out. It's a turnover rate of 8.8. Okay? 8.8 times. So this means that in the year, the company was able to convert inventory to money 8.8 times. Okay? Which is good. Which is good. Now, let's move on to the following question. It says, based on the previous rate, what are the number of days of inventory held in this company? So in other words, what does it mean that you were able to sell the products of your inventory completely pretty much 8.8 times? Okay, calculate the days of inventory. We need to divide 365, which is the number of days in a year, by the inventory turnover rate. Here, 365 divided by 8.8. It's 41. So being able to move and sell the inventory entirely 8.8 times, it's equivalent of saying that the company on average had around 41.47 days equivalent of inventory. Okay. See that we want this number to be low. I mean, you want to have a small number of days of inventory. You want to have a high inventory turnover rate. Okay. It's okay. So that's the result. And I hope it's clear. Let's go for one more. Okay, this is another one that is similar. It says early in 2001, West Company switched to a just-in-time inventory system. Its sales, cost of goods sold, and inventory amounts for 2021, and here it didn't say this, 2021 and 2022 are presented below. And there you have the information, okay, which were the sales, which were the cost of goods sold, the beginning, and then the inventory for each year. So let's check on the question. It says determine the inventory turnover rate and base in inventory for both years. Discuss the changes in the amount of inventory, turnover rate, base in inventory, and the amount of sales across the 2 years. Okay, so here we have to do the calculations twice and then, make our conclusions. But first of all, what is this that they implemented? What is the just-in-time inventory system? Let us check a video, if I may refer. Let us check a small video about that, just for you to have an idea what is that they did that that had impact from one year to another. I'm going to show another screen.
In this video,
gives us a better idea of what exactly just in time is. As you can see, it represents a shift of what normally traditionally do in terms of how they handle the inventory, right? Because here they only order based on a customer's request. Okay, it's similar to what, in a sense, right? Um, like some workshop companies do, like printers, for example, that they cannot make uh, anything in advance because they are exactly customer order based, right? They don't know what the next customer is going to want, so they cannot make inventory in advance. But that same principle can also be applied to other companies that uh, fabricate more traditional goods. And the idea is to not to overproduce, as you exactly saw on the video. So that is what the company did in 2021, all right? And that, of course, has uh, effects, okay, on the results on 2022 when the methodology was fully implemented. So we are going to evaluate in reality how efficient that was in terms of our turnover rate. Okay, let's see what time it is now. All right. If you want, let us just stop here because today we only have 30 minutes together. Let us just stop here. I'm going to upload both these sessions and the ones that we have been discussing on the previous lecture. And we are going to be solving this exercise on Tuesday if you like, just for us not to overwhelm with information. Okay, but here now you have understood new things. Now you know what inventory turnover is. You know what means to have a low inventory turnover ratio. Okay, and if and in any time you need to evaluate if you need to rethink about perhaps you're keeping too much units of an element that you don't sell. You know that this ratio is something that can help you evaluate objectively if you need to make changes to your inventory policy and your purchase policy regarding the items. Okay, so I will be seeing you on next Tuesday. We will finish this exercise then, and I hope you have a good weekend. Thank you. Goodbye.